Hello everyone, DM Gashbad here, and we're going to do something a little bit different today. We just finished the first round of the Isle of Elgonda. It's our in-house custom 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battles escalation campaign. Anyway, the first round was only 500 points, so we had a little extra time left over, so I talked to the guys about what they'd like to do, maybe a little Marvel Universe miniature game, maybe a little Warhammer Quest, something like that. In the end, we decided on running the same armies we did before, but using the Triumph and Treachery rules, so it's going to be a three-way battle with 500-point armies. So to start things off, here are the armies we'll be using. This is my Empire force, that's 500 points of angry humans. We have a Captain of the Empire. In the first round of the campaign, he picked himself up a magic sword, so he's got a Sword of Might and light armor, and that's it. Off to the left, we have Jeremy Roth. He is a warrior priest, and he's got himself a magic item too. He's got the Sword of Battle for +1 attack. Behind him, we have the Ruddy Reavers. That's 20 swordsmen with full command, and their two detachments to the left, we have a unit of Free Company, 5 Free Company, that's the Angry Mob, and a unit of 5 Handgunners, the West Watch. Off to the right, we have a unit of 5 Inner Circle Knights. Those are the riding roughshods with no command. My first opponent is using the Tomb Kings. From left to right, we have a Lich Priest level 1 with the Ruby Ring of Ruin, and he picked up a Power Stone in the first round of the campaign. We also have a Tomb Scorpion, we have 10 Skeletal Archers, we have 5 Skeletal Horsemen, and a unit of 3 Chariots with full command. And finally, we have the Daemons of Chaos. The Daemons of Chaos are led by a Herald of Slaanesh. That is a level 1 wizard who picked up the Sword of Might in the first round of the campaign. She is leading a unit of 11 demonettes with full command and the Banner of Swiftness for +1 movement. Off to the left, we have a smaller unit of 10 demonettes with no command and a unit of 5 Seekers of Slaanesh also with no command. For this game, we will be using Scenario 3, Rite of Conquest, from the Triumph and Treachery book. We have made a couple of changes to the game. First off, since we're only using 500-point armies, we used a 4x4 table divided into 4 sections, instead of a 6x4 table divided into 6 sections. So as per the scenario rules, each section gets an objective, and just to save time, because this is at the end of the day, we just put each of those objectives right in the middle of each of those quadrants. So you got 4 little treasure piles. Whoever has a unit closest to one of those objectives at the end of the game gets 100 victory points. Now, you don't actually have to be within a certain number of inches to claim those objectives, just the closest unit gets those victory points. So if you're all the way across the board, if you're the closest person, then you still get the victory points. It's also using the random game length rule, so at the end of each game turn, you roll a d3 and add the number of players, in this case 3, and the number of turns that have been completed, and if you get 12 or more, then the game ends. You total up all the victory points, and whoever wins, wins. We're using an alternating deployment method, and each player, when it's their turn, gets to choose one of the 4 quadrants. So we've taken the 4x4 board and divided it into 4 2-foot by 2-foot sections. So you choose a section, you deploy a unit, and then the next player does the same thing. The only stipulation is that you can't deploy within 12 inches of another unit. As far as terrain goes, we've got a couple of important pieces on the table here. Number 1, we have a Wizard's Tower. That's that big ruined Witch Fate Tor structure in the middle of the table. So any wizard, and we have a Lich Priest and a Herald of Slaanesh, that is within 3 inches of the Wizard's Tower gets the Lore Master ability. Now, only one of them can claim this at any one time. So every magic phase, you have to dice off to see which one gets to have the magic book that has all their spells. But anyway, any wizard around there gets to know all the spells of their lore, which is pretty nice. That big green mass in the center of the table where all my guys are set up, that is a swamp. I can't remember if it's a Khemrian quicksand or an Earthblood mirror. I want to say it's an Earthblood mirror, but either way, it's definitely not the Mistwreath Swamp. It's dangerous terrain, it's nasty, and for some reason my guys decided we're going to set up in the middle of it. Chances are, at the time, I was thinking I want to deploy all my guys up really close to that Wizard's Tower, because then no one else can deploy within 12 inches of it. I don't really want their wizards to have the Lore Master ability. That's not going to make my life any easier. And maybe I'm thinking if I'm inside of it, then I can kind of hang back and anyone who wants to charge me can go and make dangerous terrain tests. It seems like a weird choice in retrospect. My guys are all setting up for the battle. Hey, where do you want to set up? Do you want to set up in this nice defensible building over here? Or maybe this patch of clear ground over there? Maybe not right in the middle of both armies like you are? Nah, let's go set up in the middle of a nasty, smelly swamp right in between the two forces. Let's do that. Let's make sure we are closer to both opponents than they are to each other. So yeah, my Empire guys are set up in the middle of a swamp facing in all directions. The Tomb Kings are off to the right. We've got the skeleton horsemen pointed towards my guys, but the archers and the chariots are kind of off moving around, looping around that wizard's tower. The demons have set up in the last quadrant. Both the demonettes are pointed towards my guys. The seekers have actually vanguarded a little bit off to the right. And yeah, that's how things are as we're about to start the game. Now remember, this is Triumph and Treachery, so turn order is decided randomly every game turn. Each player has a card, and so in this case there are 3 cards. Actually, you can see them in the middle of the table there. And you go and draw a card randomly to see who gets the first turn, and after that player is done, then you draw a card to see who gets the next turn, and so on and so forth, and then you shuffle them up for the next game turn. So it's very possible that someone can get a double turn. They can go, the game turn ends, and then immediately they get to go again. So it's something to keep in mind. So we draw our cards, and the Tomb King player gets to go first. So, Tomb King player wastes no time. He takes those skeleton archers and the Lich Priest and moves them into the Wizard's Tower. So he's going to be controlling that for the immediate future. I'm a little surprised he did this. I think he's gotten burned doing this kind of thing before. Having your bunker unit with your important Lich Priest that holds the whole army together inside a building is kind of a tempting target for anyone. I think his Lich Priest has got eaten by a unit of squigs before, doing just this sort of thing, but maybe it'll work out for him this time. You can see the chariots are banking off to the left around the building towards the demons. The skeleton horsemen, I believe, actually declared a charge against my free company in the swamp, which they failed, which was pretty unlucky because I don't think they were very far away. But anyway, they just stumble forward a short distance and look foolish doing it. So now the Tomb Kings have the full range of the lore of Nehekara to choose from, and so they're going to go for broke. Right away they are going to cast Sekhmet's Incantation of the Skullstorm. That is the template spell that rolls over a number of units. So he's going to go and cast that. He's declared me as the enemy, and Sekhmet's Incantation of the Skullstorm sweeps through it. So the deal is you roll an artillery die and then you multiply it by your wizard level, and that's how far the template goes. The Lich Priest is only level 1, so it doesn't go very far. So it goes through the knights, and it causes a number of hits, but only one of my knights dies, which is nice. It keeps on traveling, it's run out of distance, but it ends up touching my swordsman as well. Because it didn't roll high enough, it actually doesn't hurt them, but the Skullstorm does move straight on through the swordsman and keep on going, though no damage is caused there. So I lose a knight, and I guess that's okay. Of course, the Skullstorm is still there and could twirl around and cause more problems in later rounds. Moving on, it is the Tomb King's shooting phase, and the Tomb Kings, I think, wisely choose the demons as their target in the shooting phase because he's got a lot of bows, and those demonettes do not like getting shot. But my opponent, my other opponent, the demon opponent, goes and plays one of these cards that you use in Triumph and Treachery, just extra random things to mess with your opponent. Listen, here's the thing. There's a lot of randomness in Triumph and Treachery. So that you got the turn order, you got these special cards that you get a hand of and can do random things. And normally I don't like this kind of thing. I don't love an enormous amount of randomness. That's why I don't like the Reign of Chaos table. But the thing is, with a 3-player game, anything more than 2 players, everything's going to be so random already. There's no careful planning. There's no real balance to be had in a game like this. As soon as a player decides to target one player instead of another, it all goes out the window and you're just fighting for survival. And so you know what? Whatever happens, happens. You might as well have a mechanism like this in one of these games because, hey, it's going to be just a screwy mess to begin with. So might as well. Anyway. The Tomb Kings target the Daemons of Chaos player with their shooting phase, but the Daemons of Chaos player plays the Paranoia card, which forces the Tomb Kings player to choose another opponent. So the Tomb Kings player chooses me, but I have a card in my hand which is called Secret Raid, so I guess we've replaced his snake arrows with rubber chickens or something like that. Anyway, he has to re-roll all his hits, and since he only hits on 5s anyway, and his chariots don't actually have any of my units in their line of sight, then no damage is caused, and the shooting phase sees a lot of action, but nothing really accomplished. So next we draw my card for who goes next, and I am not going to waste an opportunity. Those brave peasants are going to declare charge against those skeletal horsemen. One of them slips and falls and drowns in the mud on his way through, but that's okay. We got 4 in combat. This isn't a great combat for me. It's better than nothing. These free company don't match up terribly against the skeletal horsemen, but really I think I'm just kind of hurling them in here to see what happens. Because hey, the free company are 30 points. I might as well. Plus, I've got bigger problems in the form of those demons coming at me. In response to those guys, my units just shuffle around a little bit. Now, I can't charge any of the demon units anyway because I've chosen the Tomb King player as my opponent in the movement phase. So the knights just back up a touch and the swordsmen come forward. I'd much rather take the charge with the swordsmen and then counterattack with the knights. The handgunners are going to stay where they are. We can go and shoot some demons, hopefully. And yes, we do. We check the rules, and I don't think there's anything about this Skullstorm blocking line of sight. So we go ahead and fire our handgunners straight through that thing, through and into the approaching unit, the smaller unit of demons off to the left, and they do fantastic. 5 of those handgunners kills off 3 of those demons. Suddenly that unit's a lot less scary, and hey, great job, handgunners. I've probably also cast some prayers with the warrior priest, but it's not really going to matter. The free company are too far away to benefit, and it doesn't matter for the handgunners. No one's in combat with the swordsman unit right now, so, you know, if my 5-up ward or my rerolls to wound in hand-to-hand combat or my soulfire, none of that's going to make any difference at this time. On to the close combat phase. The free company went berserk. Those are some angry farmers. They rush in, they kill off 3 of the skeletal horsemen right off the bat. 1 of their guys dies in return, but that is enough to crumble the entire unit. Fresh from that victory, they're just going to go and reform, and they're going to face my opponent's general with his bunker right there in that building. Yeah, 3 peasants are just going to take care of that whole flank for me, absolutely. That brings us to the demon turn. So the Demons of Chaos, the Seekers of Slaanesh just kind of shuffle around off on the extreme left-hand side, just playing cat and mouse with those chariots. The Demonettes move full speed towards my troops, just going to try and box me in right there. They're not moving into the swamp, of course, because that would be dangerous, but they're just hanging out outside that, just trying to look as threatening as possible. Here we see the Seekers maneuvering against the chariots. And I didn't take a picture of this, but in the magic phase, well, there's some good news and some very, very, very bad news. So the good news is that he doesn't actually manage to get any of his spells off. I forget which spell the Herald actually had, but she didn't get to raid the library for the Wizard's Tower, so she only had that one particular spell, and it didn't happen. However, the Reign of Chaos table, and you may have heard me rant about this rule before. The Reign of Chaos table is an 8, which is the Dark Prince's Thirst. So Slaanesh goes sniffing around the battlefield looking for souls. And I'm the opponent in the magic phase, so he rolls a d6 for every one of my units. On a 6, they take a leadership test on 3d6, and for each point that they fail by, they take 1 wound. So, guess who fails? My knights, my inner circle knights. They get the 6 rolled. He rolls, well, it would be at least a 12 on 3d6, which is not hard to do, and they all die. You know, there's no dispelling, there's no, saves of any kind. It's just, roll a d6 for each of your support units. On a 6, you lose it, kind of thing. I don't like the Reign of Chaos table, so that really, really hurts. That's a big unit for my army just gone. And to make matters worse, it is a new game turn, and we shuffle up the cards, and the demon player gets a double turn. Fantastic. Well, the good news is that I'm sure that big unit was looking at destroying my knights this turn, but they're all gone. So now, what are you going to do? Well, you can wheel around and go and attack the Tomb King general with the bunker unit of skeletons, which is just sitting there in a very easily looted Wizard's Tower. So, sure enough, the Tomb King's player is the Demons of Chaos's opponent in the movement phase. It's an automatic charge. The Herald and the Demonettes with full command just go and smash right in there. One Demonette does go and disappear into a puddle in the swamp, never to reemerge. The Demonettes in front of the Swordsman unit, they can't charge me because you can only charge an opponent in the movement phase. So since Tomb Kings are the opponents, the other Demonettes just kind of stand there, and the Seekers are still just being careful with their positioning as far as the chariots go. Nothing of any consequence happens in the magic phase, so that's nice. And we go straight into the hand-to-hand combat phase, which has to be against the Tomb King's player, and predictably the Demonettes and the Herald just slice all of the skeletons to ribbons. I mean, they all die after instability. A skeleton does pull down a Demonette in combat, so another one of the Demonette's gone, which is nice. But there goes the skeleton archers, and more importantly, the Tomb King player's general. So now he has to take leadership tests for all his units at the end of this combat phase, and also at the beginning of all of his turns. So he makes that leadership test right away for the chariots. The chariots pass, they're okay. But this is bad news. Right now, the Tomb King's player has just the unit of chariots on the table. The Tomb Scorpion is going to come up at some point, hopefully, but right now now they're all taking leadership tests and taking wounds. And of course, he's lost his magic phase, he's lost unit, and of course he lost skeleton horseman too. So he's in a real bad position. The Tomb Kings do not seem to do terribly well in Triumph and Treachery. And the Herald is really curious what the Lich Priest was reading, so everyone moves into the Wizard's Tower to go check it out. So I get to go second on this round 2, so I am going to choose the demon player as my opponent in the movement phase because we have to do something about these demons. So the swordsman along with the warrior priest and the captain go and charge straight into this unit of demonettes right in front of me because why not? Again, 2 of my swordsmen go and perish in the inky blackness of this swamp. In further moves, the Free Company just about face and turn towards the Wizard's Tower. I don't really want to charge or anything, but I'm looking at using these guys as redirectors or blockers, trying to keep the demonettes from exiting the building in a place where I don't want them, which is basically close to me. The handgunners also go and just turn around and face basically all the enemies are over off on the right now, so that's the way that they face. Can't move and shoot, but hopefully they're ready for next round. In the hand-to-hand combat phase, I don't get soul fire off, so I don't get to blow up any of these demons, but I think I do get the 5-up ward save, and I think my opponent stops the rerolls to wound, because I don't do fantastically well. I've got a bunch of attacks, a lot of them at high strength, and I only managed to kill off 3 demonettes, which is not amazing. In return, a demonette kills my duelist, that's the champion of the swordsman unit, and another swordsman. I still win by a whole lot, and that's enough to pop the whole unit. So they take their instability test, and all those guys go away, which is nice. I'm going to go and reform towards where the action is happening, up towards the top of the screen. So it is the Tomb Kings phase, and they've got to go and make their crumble leadership test. The chariots pass it no problem. Unfortunately, they declare a charge on those Seekers of Slaanesh, and they fail, so they just trundle a short distance forward. But you never know, it's a new turn next round, so if they get to go before the demon player, they can try it again and hopefully get it. In other news, the Tomb Scorpion shows up. Oh, good. And it decides that they really want to go and kill Empire guys. So the Tomb Scorpion shows up right in the flank of the handgunners. It misses the crumble phase, so it doesn't have to take its leadership test. It also misses the charge phase, so it doesn't get to charge this round. But it's definitely not in a great position for me. I'd rather it was somewhere else. So it is game round 3, and we draw to see who goes first, and it's the demons again. They did not need the help in this case. Anyway, the demons go first, and they immediately declare the Tomb Kings as their enemy, which is just kind of mean, but makes sense too. So the Seekers go and charge the Tomb King chariots. It's not a great matchup, but it's sure a lot better charging those chariots than getting charged by them, so there it is. The Herald and Demonette, since they can't charge any of my guys or really do much in particular, they're happy to sit there and loot the Wizard's Tower for a round. And then we go to the magic phase, and wow, looks like the Herald of Slaanesh found a spell maybe a little bit above her pay grade. It is cast with Irresistible Force. I don't even remember what spell it is. I don't think it has much impact on the game, but it has a dramatic impact on the Herald itself because it blows the Herald's head off. Calamitous detonation, and the Herald just goes and straight up dies. Since you're in a building, you're only going to take d6 hits from the template, which is probably a good thing for the demon's case. So only one more demonette blows up. But yeah, that's both my opponent's generals gone, dead. The regular magic phase is gone. I guess I still have the warrior priest, but that simplified things quite a bit, and it's looking not too bad for the Empire. So, with nothing else to do in the magic phase, we go on to the close combat phase, and the Seekers of Slaanesh absolutely go nuts. One Seeker does die, but they cause 5 wounds on those chariots, which is just amazing. So 5 wounds get through on those chariots, so the musician goes away, 2 more wounds get put on the standard bearer, and then after combat resolution, the standard bearer also goes away, and it's just the champion left with 2 wounds remaining. That was a bad combat round for the Tomb Kings player. That's gotta hurt. So, who gets to go second in this game turn? The answer is not me. The Tomb King player goes. And the Tomb King player declares me as the enemy, which does a couple of things. First off, it means that that Tomb Scorpion can go and charge the flank of my handgunners. That's too bad. It also means that the combat currently going on with the Seekers and the Chariots breaks. So they're both backed up like an inch away from each other, and they're not in combat anymore. So that's probably going to save the Tomb King Chariot for at least another round. And if the Tomb King player on the next round can get to go before the Demon player, the Tomb King player can go and try and charge into those Seekers. And then with the impact hits, it could go a lot better. Also, the Tomb Scorpion and the Chariots both pass their crumble test and neither of them takes any wounds. And so we go on to the hand-to-hand combat phase, and it's not going great. So the Tomb Scorpion snips off 2 of my handgunners' heads, and they're within 3 inches of the parent unit, the swordsman, so they are on a steadfast 8. They go and fail it anyway, so they take off. Their fear does give them strength in the legs, and they run plenty far. The Tomb King is not able to run them down, but that sight does nothing good for the morale of my swordsman. We have to take a panic test, and we fail. Again, 8 or less, and we're legging it. So that's almost my whole army in retreat at the end of this phase. But we do finally get my turn, so that comes around, and really all I have to do is rally tests. But I do fairly well on those. The swordsmen, of course, are going to go and rally. They need a 9 or less, and the handgunners go and rally. So everyone stops, collects their nerves, goes and reforms to face the bad guys again. The Free Company, they are not interested in charging by themselves into that building with all those demonettes. I mean, that thing just blew up. They're not going in there. But that seems kind of like a wasted turn for me. It was just recovering a little bit from a very bad phase beforehand, but it's a new game turn, so let's see who gets to claim the initiative for this next round. Oh, and what do you know, it's the demons again. 3rd turn in a row, the demons get to go first. So instead of the lone chariot smashing into the Seekers of Slaanesh, the Seekers of Slaanesh get to recharge into the chariot. They immediately go and destroy that thing and reform. The Demonettes actually go and leave the tower at this point. They don't have the Herald there to keep them in the fight. So they're actually looking at claiming objectives, because it is round 4. It's getting towards the point where we could start thinking about ending the game here. So the Demonettes want to get the objective in the upper right. That, of course, is a bit of a shame. If I had gone before the demon player, those swordsmen maybe could have charged that wizard's tower and caught him before they went to do that, but oh well. Let's see if I can at least get the jump on the Tomb Scorpion. No, I cannot. The card comes up, and it's the Tomb King player turn. And so the Tomb Scorpion goes and charges those handgunners again. And yeah, sure enough, snip, snip, snip. All the handgunners die. You can see the Tomb Scorpion has taken a wound from the crumble check. The chariots are gone, so those guys don't matter. The Scorpion is the last thing the Tomb King's player has on the board, but it did its job here. Okay, fine. Now it's my turn. So, the swordsmen are going to march off towards the Seekers of Slaanesh. Now, you might think chasing after fast cavalry is a really dumb idea, and normally you would be right. But I am going last this round, so all I have to do is go before the Demons of Chaos, and then I will be close enough to where I can possibly get a charge off on those guys. The Free Company have decided there's way too many demons where they're at. They're actually going to turn around and come towards the objective that was in my deployment area at the beginning of the game. We're going to go claim that. My warrior priest may or may not cast any prayers this round. It doesn't really matter. So it is round number 5, game turn 5, and we have 3 cards. See who is going to go first. We draw the card, and it's the Tomb Kings, okay? So the Tomb Kings only have 1 model on the board, and that's that Tomb Scorpion. It passes its crumble test, and it is going to charge the rear of my swordsman. That could be bad news. They're kind of far away, though. I'm not too worried until my opponent plays the surprise attack card, which is going to add D3 to the Tomb Scorpion's movement value. So that suddenly changes quite a bit. So I'm going to go and I'm going to play the card Caltrops, and that is going to have the charge distance of any charging enemy this round. Well, that makes a big difference. Plus D3 to take away half. That's a big swing. So the Tomb Scorpion actually ends up getting nowhere close to my swordsman, and they're safe for a round. All I need to do is get my card next and charge into those Seekers, and we're in business. But it was not to be. So the next card drawn is the Demons of Chaos. The Demons of Chaos go and decide they do not want to play with that largely intact swordsman unit. I say largely intact. I did lose a couple in the swamp. It looks like even my warrior priest took a wound from charging or marching through the swamp at some point. But it doesn't matter, because the Seekers decide that they are going to take off. They turn around and go all the way around the other side of the Wizard's Tower. The Demonettes go and firmly claim that objective up in the upper right. And again, nothing terrible happens in the Reign of Chaos magic phase. So 3rd turn in a row, I am the last player to go in the game turn. So okay, fine. The Free Company keep moving towards that objective, and if that Scorpion really wants to fight me so bad, I'm going to turn around, I do a swift reform, and march back the other direction. These swordsmen, that's just what they do. They march one way, then they turn around, and they march another way. So it is game turn 6. It's getting towards the end of this thing. The demons go first again. The demonettes just stand guard over the objective, and the seekers just shuffle a little bit off to the left now that the swordsmen have turned around and they're no longer looking like they might go beat them up. They're looking to claim that other objective as soon as they can. So they're not too aggressive, but they don't need to be because Slaanesh is. We go to the Reign of Chaos chart, they roll another 8. And guess what? I'm the opponent again, which only makes sense. No sense picking on the Tomb Kings at this point, but we roll d6 for all my units. The swordsmen are fine, the Free Company are not. 3d6 against their leadership of 7. Sure enough, all of the Free Company are eaten by Slaanesh. You happy, you Dark Prince jerk? Reign of Chaos, least favorite rule in the game. So it is the Tomb King player next. That is the card that is drawn. The Tomb Scorpion goes and passes its crumble test. It sure solved me a lot of problems if that thing would fail and just go and fall apart and die. But it doesn't. It's going to go and just shuffle a little bit backwards to the side, hang out in the swamp. It decides it really is less interested in charging the swordsmen when they're pointed in its direction and all the characters are up in the front. So it's going to try and drown me as I go and try and charge into it. And finally, it's my turn. I only have 1 unit left on the board, so these swordsmen, yeah, we're going to get this scorpion, but we fail our charge roll. So we only stumble forward a short distance. We're coming up, we're screaming and yelling, then we see the murky ground, and we're like, hang on, like, you know, half dozen of our guys drowned in that thing. Let's not be hasty. Let's take this nice and slow. So that was the end of game round number 6. So that means we roll a die at the end to see if the game ends. We don't roll the 5 or 6, so play continues another round. We take those cards, and hey, what do you know? The demons go first again. So the Seekers of Slaanesh go and claim that one objective. The demonettes are camping out on their other one. They have a pile of victory points from eating various units. It's pretty much all settled. The Demons of Chaos are going to win this game. There's nothing to do. Just me and the Tomb Kings are fighting over what honor is left. So we're just going to find out if the swordsman can get the jump on the Tomb Scorpion and see if we can't claim some moral victory before the sun sets. Nope, no we cannot. The Tomb Kings are going to go next, and the Scorpion decides that he is not interested at all. Just backs straight up and goes to claim that objective, so the Tomb Kings are looking pretty good. Again, crumble check is passed, and yeah, he has probably scuttled his way away from the vengeful humans. And finally, for the 5th round in a row, I go last. I don't know exactly what the odds are. It's 1 in a couple hundred. But I do try to make one last effort. I am going to declare a charge against that Tomb Scorpion, but the distance is way too great. We don't get there. We don't drown in the swamp. We stick our foot in and decide, nope. Not going to do that. The demons own the battlefield. We are not going to go chasing through a dangerous swamp to get into combat with this scary pincher monster. Anyway, that is the end of the game. It was just a goofy game. I think it's kind of a lot of fun. I still may slightly prefer the other rules for multiplayer games in the big rule book. But Triumph and Treachery, it's probably ideal for these small point value games. Just a lot of crazy things going on. And going back on this, I did kind of appreciate it, even though, boy, those poor Empire troops did not... Well, first off, Slaanesh just hated them. Really wanted to snack on their yummy souls. And also just could not claim the initiative. Just not tactically with it that day. Did a lot of hopping around and not accomplishing much, but they did end up with a big force at the end. I think when I was playing the game, I'm kind of like, boy, does it seem like people are really picking on me? Am I usually the opponent in these magic phases and stuff? Well, I think looking at it, I had that big block of troops with the 2 characters in there, so I had the largest force on the board certainly after the 2 generals died. So yeah, it would make sense that they would feel like they needed to do something about that. Anyway, a lot of fun. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the comment section below, and we will be back later with round 2 of the Isle of Valgonda campaign. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.